You're welcome to the show, and just a quick introduction of the guests that I have this morning. To my immediate left, we are joined by the Secretary General for ODM Party, that is Edwin Sifuna. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're also joined by Sam Corner, who's a commissioner for the NCIC, that's National Commission for Integration and National Cohesion and Integration Commission. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Joseph Kioko, who's a political consultant. Now, the question that we had asked earlier on, and that's where I'd like to start, is with the ongoing political intrigues, do you think the BBI process has lost its original agenda? Do you think the BBI process has lost its original agenda? That's a question that we were asking. And let me just read a few comments that have come through. We have Matthew Ondoro, who says BBI is now a thing of the past. No Wanjiku can understand its meaning since politicians have diluted it to fit their camps of Raila / Ruto. Nothing food for common mwananchi will come out of a leader. We have SB Basaite, who says that BBI didn't have any original idea from the start. Uhuru needed noises and protest-free second term. So he cunningly reached out to Raila Amolo Odinga for a truce. Obviously, he didn't foresee noises within the party. I'll read one more, who says, absolutely, the moment it slipped from the experts to politicians, they made it diluted, that no one can easily understand it. Now, it's name-calling arena for themselves. So that's the discussion that we're having here. If you have your comments or something that you'd like to say, feel free to let us know. The social media handles are going to be displayed as we carry on. And let me start with you, Edwin Sifuna, as Secretary General of Orange Democratic Party. One of the narratives that has come out of some of the things that people say, particularly politicians, is that this has been overtaken by politicians and has become an ODM arena. But judging from what we hear, from what some of these people have said, it looks like the BBI rallies have completely, or rather the BBI document that is supposed to be what is the bedrock of the rallies has lost direction, and there seems to be, confusion in what it's supposed to be.
I don't understand the basis of you saying that there seems to be confusion. First of all, when you pose such a question to your viewers, then you need to tell them what the original agenda of a BBI is.
Which is what?
And who are the originators of a BBI. It is disingenuous to say that politicians have hijacked the BBI when the BBI process was birthed by politicians. It was started by Honorable Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, who remain politicians. So the original agenda was a 9-point agenda, trying to address the issues that have bedeviled the country from the start of time. I don't see how that has been diverted from. In all the rallies that we have attended, I have been to all those rallies. People have brought out issues within that framework of the 9 issues. Whether it is how they can make devolution work better for them. You saw, for instance, in the Nyanza chapter, there was a gentleman there from a member of parliament from Kuria, who, from the casual observer from outside the region like us, you would think that everyone in Migori is okay. But when we went to Kisii, we were told that the people of Kuria within the larger Migori feel like they need to have their own county. These are issues that were brought out there. We went to Western Kenya. The people of Western Kenya who have suffered the brunt of economic meltdown through the mismanagement of, say, the cane factories, have brought out their issues and the solutions that they propose. We went to the coast region. We heard from the people of the coast. They have been decimated by the fact that their port has been moved from Mombasa, where God naturally put it. They would like to have their port back. These are issues that have been picked from the people themselves within the framework of the 9 issues. What I have come to realize is that especially the people who were opposed to the unity, project from the start, and some in the media have chosen to focus on the side shows here and there during the rallies, the people who come late when they come, or they have no place to sit, somebody has been kicked out of a podium, somebody has spoken out of turn. I mean, we have an opportunity as Kenyans to have a proper conversation, and it is not fair for those who are opponents of this process to claim now that we have lost the way.
That we have that. All right. And I'd like us to just focus on the rallies that have been and possibly the ones that are expected. The Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui will be putting on a brave face to present the county as a united front during the 8th edition of the Building Bridges Initiative Consultative Forum. Leaders in the county have been sharply divided since 2017 over the 2022 presidential succession race. One faction of the leaders is strongly behind Deputy President William Ruto's presidential bid, while the other is rallied behind President Uhuru Kenyatta's handshake with ODM party leader Raila Odinga and the BBI push. John Leting has more from Nakuru.
Akachaguliwa bahati, gavana akachaguliwa hapa. Na nimamshukuru, tulikuwa tusalimiani, leo nitamsalimia. Kwa sababu alitoa statement juzi ikanifurahisha sana.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has entrusted the BBI campaign on Governor Lee Kinyanjui, whose relationship with the majority of the elected leaders in the county has been frosty. His critics accuse him of running a one-man show in the county, saying he rarely consults elected leaders in the management of county affairs. While a majority of the MPs in the county have been against the BBI, Governor Kinyanjui is rallying the residents to support it, adding that he has committed to ensure the March 7th rally is a success.
The contents is what is going to help us to move together. Na ningewaomba, especially because now we are at a moment, tukikubali kitu yende without the input of Rift Valley is going to be a major problem.
Kinyanjui has warned warmongers and self-seeking leaders against attempting to use the meeting for their own political mileage, pointing out that hate speech will not be tolerated at the rally.
Na hii BBI meeting, if you know you don't stand for unity, if you don't stand for coexistence, this will be the wrong venue for you.
Bahati MP Kimani Ngunjiri, a strong critic of the BBI process, while sharing a podium with Governor Kinyanjui last week, declared that he was not for it, saying the process lacks a common direction and has sharply divided the country.
I am not for BBI. Wakati wewe utaimba BBI mkiwa na rais, mtuita mkutano, we shall be there. Wimbo ya watu wengine hatujui. Mimi siko hapo.
BBI ambayo ilikuwa ikuje kuongeza another level of unity of this country, tunaona iko kwa hatari.
Among the pertinent issues the leaders are set to highlight during the meeting are the sharing of revenue generated from national parks in the county, which are currently under the national government.
Lake Nakuru National Park earns the national government up to 1 billion shillings. The people of Nakuru, including Nakuru County, get 0.
Nakuru Town West MP Samuel Arama revealed that a roundtable meeting with different groups of people across the county will be held Thursday in a bid to consolidate their views ahead of the Saturday rally. His Nakuru Town East counterpart, David Gikaria, who has had a hard stance against the BBI, has seemingly changed tune, now drumming support for it as an inclusive process. Gikaria's hard stance against the BBI alongside other leaders allied to the deputy president saw him locked out of a state function hosted in his own constituency earlier this year. They say unity is strength. Residents here are hopeful that their leaders will unite. They are also hopeful that they will be given a chance to present Wanjiku's issues to the BBI task force. Johan Leting, KTN News in Nakuru County.
All right, and that's where the next BBI rally is expected to take place. Let me come to you, Kioko. Do you agree that there is division after the rallies? And of course, it's not expected that everybody will be in agreement. But do you feel that largely it is dividing the country more than uniting?
I think, first and foremost, you need to look at the genesis of the handshake between Uhuru and Raila when these two protagonists came together and decided to work together. They had their own understanding. Each one of them is an astute politician. Uhuru has his vision of what the BBI constitute. Raila has his vision of what the BBI constitutes. Now, these rallies, I truly believe, this rallies is the political astuteness of Raila, who was given a liberal interpretation of what BBI is all about. Let us reach out, let us talk. Let us reach out to as many people as possible and hear their views. In the process of this liberal view, of course there are people within Uhuru's side of the campaign who will always feel shortchanged, who feel that they have been sidelined into this process. And that must be respected. Is there unity after the rallies? Then the fundamental question is, was there unity before? Did it need to be checked? When people voted and went home, what were they left with? And reopening these wounds, where does it leave us as a country? Are we moving 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards?
But the question is, are we reopening the wounds, or are we trying to, deal with the issues that bring those wounds? Are we dressing those wounds?
I think we are reopening the wounds. We are reopening the wounds.
And is that healthy?
Without fundamentally offering a solution towards it. One, look at it this way. The need for unity means we've accepted that there is disunity. There's division of ideas. That I have a different parameter of looking, different mindset of looking at the different issues affecting us. Now, if we were to go to those rallies without the shite shows that SG has talked about, and allow these people who have a different understanding their time to speak and to be heard, it might be theoretically possible, practically hard, but let them be given that platform to air their views. What happened in Meru, for example, that the MP session ended and Moses Kuria was there, and I'm not holding brief for Moses Kuria, and you could see the agitation of people, him not being called out, other people being called out from areas that are not from Mount Kenya, for that matter, or only one person being called Sabina, and then the rest are not being given an opportunity. What it does, it heightens tension. Secondly, when you go to Mombasa only, the issues affecting Kwale County are different from the issues affecting Mombasa County. The issues affecting Kilifi are different from the issues affecting Mombasa County. And but
practically, it's not possible for them to go to every
But my view, the person in Lunga Lunga today, you cannot say that poor man had to get into a mud from Lunga Lunga and Vanga to come to Tononoka. It is not correct. The essence of devolution is to take these things as nearer as possible to people.
To the people.
When you do regional things and say Mombasa, when Mombasa speaks, the entirety of Costa spoken is a fallacy, both in political numbers and both in speech. Mombasa is cosmopolitan. Kwale is Digo, which are the most popular society. Kilifi is Giriama. You cannot say the Giriama people are represented in Mombasa. You cannot say that the Kwale Digo people have to come to Tononoka. Let's deal with these issues for what they are.
Okay, I'll come to you. Let me hear from Sam. You're from the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. Do you feel that the BBI rallies are bringing Kenya together or taking us further apart?
Thank you. The BBI rallies have definitely lost the intended focus as far as we are concerned. If you reflect back to what this BBI was meant to be, it was supposed to be a platform for Kenyans to dialogue about the issues that affect them. And also, it was supposed to be a platform for serious reforms that will make Kenya come up with solutions that will take away this cycle of election-related violence. And of course, it was supposed to be a platform for Kenyans to dialogue about a better future. Over the last few months, we have witnessed that instead of becoming an arena for dialogue and discourse about the future of Kenya, BBI has taken a political dimension, where the political class from both sides have taken it as a platform for campaigns. They have taken it as a platform to mobilize. And what BBI is doing currently is reinforcing negative things about our identities, as opposed to inspiring Kenyans to discuss about a Kenya that is for all of us. When you talk about ethnic identities or regional identities, that is not the message of dialogue. That's not the message of building a country that's supposed to be united. And that has completely moved away from the initial purpose of uniting Kenya through BBI, of creating a platform for reforms through BBI, and also for undertaking serious electoral reforms that will make the next election more inclusive and therefore reduce the causes of violence.
And maybe let's also try and separate two issues here. There is the BBI report that is currently there, and also the task force that is going around collecting Kenyans' views. That's number one. But there's also the political rallies. Of course, the political rallies seem to get more noise and more coverage by virtue of the fact that they're political and they have more, they just get more mileage. But do you feel that maybe the task force behind the scenes, because there are those town hall meetings that take place before the rallies in every county, do you feel those are doing their work in terms of collecting what needs to be collected in terms of information?
The pre-rallies engagements are the most constructive processes at the moment as far as BBI is concerned. Because at least there is engagement of the citizens in giving their views. You can see also the leadership organizing themselves around the issues that affect their leaders, and they do present the memorandum to the BBI task force. So to that extent, there is significant progress being made. But the moment it moves out of the pre-rally engagement forums or delegate conferences, what happens in the public rallies is more divisive than what is expected. Because if, for example, after Kakamega, all political formations agreed that they support the BBI process, what then was the problem in allowing the process to be inclusive? Why were others given conditions not to participate in other processes? Why are other voices being muted in the process? Yet, we appear to have gone through a process and we have built consensus that we will support the BBI process and forge a better future for Kenya.
All right. I see SG shaking his head in disagreement.
You know, there's a tendency for Kenyans to regurgitate things that they have heard from other politicians in other places. If you look at the rally, just take one rally after the other. What was the most divisive message out of Kisii? What was the most divisive message out of Kakamega? What was the most divisive message out of Mombasa? You have one or two isolated incidents where people, you know, politicians are very crafty people. They set themselves up to be on the news. Let me give you an example. You see, I am in ODM. I don't agree politically, say, with somebody like the Deputy President, William Ruto. But I respect the office that he holds. I would never show up to a function being presided over by the Deputy President late after he has arrived and then insist that I want to sit at the front. If the Deputy President were to walk in here, we would all stand as a sign of respect for the whole office that he holds. It has nothing to do with whether you agree with him or not. We are mature enough to grant respect to the office that he holds. It is very insincere, especially coming from the NCIC. If you look at the entire act that constitutes this organization, there is a whole section on ethnic discrimination, ethnic marginalization in the entire existence of this organization. We never hear them address the key issues. It is in fact the failure of organizations such as this that have resulted in all the problems we have seen going into elections where Kenyans feel marginalized in their own country. It is the failure of organizations such as theirs that people continue to walk free even when there is clear cases of ethnic contempt, ethnicization of our politics. If people like Moses Kuria, who's a poster child of ethnic contempt, has never actually been brought to account, then there is no need for the NCIC to even exist. Okay. Now, there is an issue that my brother there raised about, for instance, the regional meetings. It is not correct to say that just because you hold a meeting in Nairobi, the voices of Turkana cannot be heard. When we organize these regional meetings, it is an appreciation that many of these regional blocks are people who live together with certain shared values. The people of Kwale were actually represented at that meeting. It is not that Mombasa was speaking for Kwale. There were people from Kwale, there were leaders from Kwale. The people of the Mijikenda were there and they were present. So it is not correct to say that their voices, not everybody can speak. If you have observed keenly, my brother, the BBI stage itself, in fact, it is now becoming impossible to host all the leaders who come for this. And we are looking for even the biggest possible podium to be able to accommodate every leader. It might be good to have the podium, but everybody needs to be heard. And evidently, there are some people's voices who either are muted according to what they've said. But allow me now to also introduce the woman rep for Uasin Gishu County. That's Gladys Boss. Thank you for joining us this morning. And I think it's only fair that we start with the same question I'd asked everybody else, and that is whether you feel that the BBI rallies and the BBI process has lost track. Has it lost direction from its original mandate of what it was there to do, to bring Kenyans together? Yes, it has lost track from its original mandate. Because if you look at the way it was conducted with the first BBI, which we were still not satisfied with, but at least they would go from area to area and listen to the people of that area and they would have a memorandum or they would take notes and then develop the report. And that is why when the BBI Bomas report came out,
it set out the problems that bedevil Kenya. And we were hoping that we'd move to a solution or implementation stage. That did not happen. Where we have completely gone wrong is the second BBI rallies. Because if you look at Kakamega, they were talking Sisi Waluya. When they went to Kisii, Sisi wa Kisii. When they went to Mombasa, they talked about Sisi watu wa Pwani. So actually, we have brought actually tribal vocals right to the front. Yet it was supposed to be inclusivity, it was supposed to be an opportunity for us, as envisaged by Uhuru Kenyatta, and he told us it was to get rid of tribalism. Today people are talking about Mount Kenya region, as the Kikuyus. That's what Meru was all about. If you listen, and then secondly, the BBI rallies have become a platform for Raila Odinga to pitch his 2022 presidential bid using state resources. That is what it has turned out about to be. It's about him. It's no longer about the bombers draft that Uhuru Kenyatta told us about.
On what grounds do you make that accusation or that inference that Raila Odinga is using the platform? Because when he stands up to speak...
This was supposed to be, the BBI has a task force. That task force should have been taking the lead. But instead, the memorandum is being handed over to Uhuru Kenyatta, to Raila Odinga. I don't know as who. I expect it to be given to Haji or a representative of the task force because he has no role in that. How do we, and then he has begun to behave, Raila Odinga is behaving as if he is a co-head of state, you know? And so that is the danger. It's about him. It's not about the people. And that is why I said, when we go to the BBI rallies, it's not about hearing the leaders and for them to be able to taunt their political muscle at the ordinary public who are suffering. I want to hear, if it is in Meru, I wanted to hear the people of Meru speaking, majority. If we go to Rift Valley, let's hear the people of Rift Valley tell us their challenges.
Let me come to some. You did mention and you said that it's becoming more divisive than bringing Kenyans together. You sit as a commissioner of the NCIC. What is the NCIC doing to ensure that they do their part?
Thank you. First of all, I want to pick up from where the Secretary General left, that the state of Kenya today, and in fact the creation of NCIC, is because of a failure of politics in 2007, 2008. So the truth is actually the opposite, that it's politics that failed, that's why NCIC was established. Secondly, the idea of uniting Kenya is not only for one institution. I expect, for example, political parties to hold their leadership accountable, their leaders. If, for example, what happened in Narok, if a political party has an MP who incites people openly, of course NCIC and other agencies of government will take their work seriously and do as we have done it. But I also expect the political parties to be responsible for their own part. Otherwise, when political leaders incite and the political party keeps quiet, it means that political party supports the position of that particular member of parliament or leader. And that is not how we forge this country in terms of unity. All of us must be interested in uniting the country. All of us must play our role as institutions to make sure we do not do things that create problems or prepare us for a difficult moment in future. NCIC has been heavily engaged in this process. We've given our comments to the task force. We've been engaged in the pre-engagement processes in terms of the conferences, participating to make sure that we do discuss with the leaders about the content and the issues around it. We've also gone further to give guidelines on how these processes can be better managed, particularly the public rallies.
Do you feel NCIC have fully done their part?
It can never be complete. We've done the much that we can as far as we are able to do now.
There's not more that can be done from
There is more that can be done.
Okay.
We do engage communities alone as our mandate directs us in terms of ensuring that please do not be divided, embrace unity, be inclusive, refuse manipulation. We do all that.
I feel like some of the things that are being said will be lost if I don't jump in here. First of all, my brother, all these institutions exist within a certain legal framework. The NCIC has a legislative underpinning. Political parties have legislative underpinning. There is no law that gives me, as a leader of a political party, any powers over things that have been given to other organizations. For instance, if it is criminal conduct by a member of a political party, ODM or any other political party is also subject to the law. We also are under the same laws that, govern our conduct as human beings. If I, for instance, take a panga and cut somebody, that is not political conduct.
True.
So I don't expect that my party leader, Raila Odinga, will be there.
That is true,
issue a statement. This is what we call, let me finish. This is what we call classical back passing, because the NCIC knows it has no capacity. In fact, they have been coming to us as leaders of a political party to lobby that they need to be given more teeth. Instead of addressing the inefficiencies and the inadequacies of the NCIC, he's here trying to pass it back. And we did not keep quiet on what Olekina said. In fact, we said that as a political party, we feel that this is a great opportunity for Kenyans to be able to air the things that have been, they have been keeping inside. And it is the cause of all this strife from time to time.
So in short,
my brother here said that we are reopening wounds. There is only one way to ensure that a wound heals, Mike. You do not pretend that you are going to put a plaster over a wound that has festered for 50 years. You have to cauterize it. It is not a pretty sight when you're squeezing out the pus. It is not something that is, pretty. We equated it to a postmortem of what has killed the Kenyan dream. A postmortem, if you have ever attended one, is not a pretty sight. We have to find out what killed the patient. It is not a pretty sight.
That is true.
These leaders, especially these leaders from Rift Valley, they know that once the people of Rift Valley, the people who have suffered political violence in 92, in 97, the people who have suffered the brunt of corruption in dams and so on and so forth, if the people of West Pokot are given an opportunity to speak frankly about the issues in the Rift Valley, these people know there are truths that they want to hide.
Okay.
They don't want to have an honest conversation.
We have a leader from Rift Valley, so let's not refer as though that she's not here, but boss.
Yes. You see, okay, you know what? We are not afraid to open up the wounds. We're not afraid to say what challenges we have in the Rift Valley. We are not afraid to look back and see what caused problems in 1992, 1997, and in 2007. We are not afraid to talk about it. Hence the reason why we are saying, when you come to the Rift Valley, the people of Rift Valley shall speak. Not Raila Odinga, not the Secretary General, and not political leaders. It will be our opportunity to allow those people of West Pokot, those people of Elgeyo Marakwet, and those people from the entire region to speak. And they will tell you truthfully what the challenge is. But if you come there and dance reggae on stage and then talk at us instead of allowing us an opportunity to speak, then that will be wrong. So that time when the BBI rally will be held, and I'm sad that it can't be held this weekend because we had expected it to be held this weekend in Nakuru, but we shall hold it. They've postponed it to 21st, we shall be there, the people of the Rift Valley shall be there, and we shall speak frankly. And then the Secretary General here of ODM will know we are not afraid.
Okay, let me come to you, Kioko. This is a political process and we cannot escape from it. But even just telling from the temperatures that we have here, what do we need to do to ensure that this process does not further divide the country? Because that's what we're staring at right now.
I think, first, I need to go back to that issue of the feelings you're hearing from Boss and also from the SG. It is that optimizes the challenge we are facing. There is a group that want to pontificate to people on how they must behave. There is a group that believes this is how Kenya must be. There is another group that is feeling very beleaguered. You do not respect us. We ran an election and won. There is a group that lost an election, went petition and lost. They feel that their views somehow supersede those of the other people who won the election. The greatest challenge we have in this country, and we can go around really, there are historical problems that we face in this country that cannot be resolved by 21 rallies or 8 regional meetings. They cannot be resolved. There are institutions that have been formed and have not been empowered financially and been given the capacity to execute their mandate. It cannot be solved by rallies. However, we must go back. What caused the conflict of 1992 in Likoni? What caused the conflict of 1992 in Njoro? What caused the conflict of 1997?
We have the TJRC.
What caused the 2007 post-election violence?
In TJRC
all these things, truly I agree with that. It is in TJRC report. Kriegler talked about it. But there's also a player called IEBC. We vote.
And that brings us. Let me finish this.
If we do not address the IEBC in totality, Because it is when people vote and the outcomes of the voting that are challenged. And people express these challenges in different ways. There are those that will go to court, there are those that will bear arms. If we do not address that source of conflict, my vote must count. All these things we are doing, I tell you, we will go to a referendum that is being pushed by ODM. And you ask yourself, this same IEBC that they claimed manhandled towards 2013,
the one that's going to handle
what factors
Okay,
change?
Michael, allow me please. Michael, I think you mentioned the referendum, and it's very important that we don't lose. I would like to interject at that. Just remember, these BBI 2 rallies that are going on are all intended to take us to a referendum. And we have been threatened severally that there shall be a referendum in June. But let me tell Kenyans this very loud and clear. To take signatures would at least take a minimum of 2 months. If you have to clean up the register, the minimum it can take is another 8 weeks. If that's 2 months. If you have to have the signatures verified, it takes another month or 2 months. And it also requires a budget given to IEBC to hire clerks to verify the signatures. We know that the ODM ones took 2 months. To collect signatures, I think it took Uhuru 5 months. And they're telling us that we'll have a referendum in June. Just tell me how they'll have that referendum. Are they planning to have an emergency so they can remove money from the consolidated fund? Because as far as I'm concerned, I am in parliament and we've gone through the budget hearings and there is no funding for a referendum allocated to IEBC.
So
and lastly, when you prepare the register, the register in preparation, because I want to answer this because Kenyans are talking about a referendum. I want to tell them you cannot have June is 3 months away.
3 months away.
Even if you do it in July, that's 4 months away. Remember, you need at least 60 days for the campaign period. And then you also require to verify the inspection of the register. You have to at least open inspection for 20 days for it to become legitimate. So when you tell us about a referendum, I cannot comprehend. I know the timelines precisely. If you had a chart here, I would have drawn it up for you.
So here's one of the problems we have in Kenyan politics. There's a serious lack of intellectual honesty. Gladys Shole was my teacher in school. She knows that it is not ODM that is threatening a referendum. She knows that because just a minute, nobody's threatening her. You don't threaten a legal process. It's a legal process. It's a constitutional process. And it is, it is dictated by the things that you want to do. The BBI report in its current form proposes changes to the structure of devolution. For instance, they have said they need to see Nairobi managed differently. It is our constitution that says if you propose changes to the structure of devolution, you as of essence have to go to a referendum. The report, they say they accepted at Bomas. That's what it says. It proposes changes to the role of parliament. The constitution says if you propose changes to the role of parliament, you have to go to a referendum. Now, there are people who look at things and see why it cannot be done. There are Kenyans who think that there are ways in which it can be done. We have said that it would be ideal for us to have a referendum before we get into the 2022 election cycle. Because immediately you cross over into July, August, September, people will start saying, oh, we have started the electoral cycle in 2022, why can't you put the question together with... But we feel that these issues are key enough to be able to be dealt with at this moment. Now, another thing that
so you
has
agree
come
you
out,
want
just
a
a minute,
referendum?
let me speak. You were heard in silence, Madam Boss. I want to make it clear that Raila Odinga does not go to those rallies to address them. He goes there to listen to the people. And 90% of the time, Raila Odinga is seated there. The rally starts at 6 a.m. He gets to speak at 4 p.m. when everybody has addressed the issues. And he takes 2 seconds to say jumbo to the crowd and to leave. Raila Odinga does not need to hide behind a process such as the BBI to be able to put forward this 2022 plan. We as a political party have the capacity as ODM to call a rally in Eldoret and it will be full. Madam Shole, you have seen it in the past. If Raila Odinga wanted to start his mobilization in 2022, we can easily do it as a political party. Lastly, Mike, it is something that she said. I just lost my trail of thought there.
Okay,
I will come back to it. It has come back to me. Let me just finish.
Very quickly, because I need
to... You see, there's a very interesting argument that I heard from the Member of Parliament for Soy, a guy that I greatly respect. I think he's the Deputy Secretary General at Jubilee, that for them, the BBI thing is good, but they are going to reject it because it is Raila Odinga who's championing it. Now, this handshake, the BBI is a product of the handshake between two people, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. You want to tell me that you love the child so much but you reject the father or the parent. You want to tell me you love cake so much, but you hate flour.
Okay,
it is ridiculous.
All right.
If Raila Odinga today came up with a cure for coronavirus, they would reject it because it has come from you.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Sam.
I think from the way you can see the discussions, it confirms my earlier allusion that the process is not progressing the way it's expected, and people are not agreeing. And that is a concern that Kenyans must have, because such platforms are the ones that create conditions for difficult moments going forward.
In the future.
The second thing, whenever we make reference to 1992, 97, TJRC, all that, what we always do as a country is we squander moments to change ourselves and to reform, including this BBI process. It's an opportunity for Kenya to forge a better future. But we might just squander it, just as we have squandered other moments in the past, because of the fact that now this thing has been clouded by other things. In fact, it's looking like the dialogue of the deaf. Nobody's listening the other, nobody wants to hear the other, yet it was supposed to be an invitation for Kenya to dialogue and discuss about our future.
And what's the problem? Is it the process of how we are doing this? Because when we say that we do not want to refer to the TJRC, the Ndungu report, the Waki report, these are reports and commissions that were put together and have spent a lot of taxpayers' money to give us answers to our problems.
They're sitting in parliament.
Yet we are not taking advantage of those reports they're gathering dust. So what's the difference with BBI? It's going to be another report that will be put on a shelf, and
that's precisely why I'm saying there is a culture of squandering opportunities to do better things for our country. And we don't seem to learn from them, because we've had moments in our history when we thought this is the moment for Kenya now to change completely and be a better country. But when we begin a process, we don't push it to the conclusion, because usually selfish interests creep in of whatever nature, political, regional, personal, and then we forget that process, only to revisit the same issue when we are confronted with a situation which is difficult, like violence and so on. So I think what we need to do is for the leadership, and that is why, as the Secretary General was saying, it is not that one institution is responsible. Take this, for example, take an hypothetical case. Supposing Olekina said he was supporting another political leader and wants, let's say, William Ruto to be president, or somebody who is not ODM. Will the party have behaved the same way they behaved in that incident in Narok? I have seen political parties summoning their people and taking disciplinary action on taking different political positions. Which one is more serious? Inciting Kenyans or supporting a national leader?
That is something that has to be established by a court.
So that tells you
we are not a court
the institutions must remain consistent, and we must all have that desire to have a country that is cohesive, that is tolerant, and that respects our diversity. If one institution allows bad behavior to continue, then that bad behavior is what will affect the whole of Kenya, because these are leaders.
All right.
People should look at their leaders, and when they are not punished, then the culture of impunity is what prevails.
Continues. Boss, let me come to you. We've agreed that there are certain things that must be brought to the surface and discussed. They might be uncomfortable, they might be painful, they might not be something that we're looking forward to, but they must be addressed. And maybe, hopefully, they're captured in that 9-point agenda that the BBI task force came up with. At what point do we discuss this? Because from what I'm seeing and from what we've seen from the rallies, they are discussed, but we never get to a logical conclusion.
Yeah, you see, when the first BBI was being done, I was worried that it was going to be used to be able to extend the term of the president or create positions for certain people. But when I read the BBI report, I had no problem with it, and I actually offered even to prepare an implementation matrix, because as I've said, this law needs to be changed in Parliament, this one needs to go here, this policy needs to change, and so on. So it's very easy to implement. And some of the issues that have been raised in the BBI report, we have the Ndungu land report, which we have never implemented. It exists. Okay, there's been some work done by NCLC, the National Land Commission, on it. There is also the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation report, which the president, in 2015, is in his State of the Nation report, put aside 10 billion shillings for reparations. Again, last year, in his State of the Nation report, he again put aside 10 billion shillings when he addressed the nation, and was able to say that we should implement the TJRC report. You say I'm in Parliament, I've done a good job of it because I have the Kenya Reparations Bill pending in Parliament at the moment to implement that same TJRC report. So if I was afraid of saying the problems that we've had in the past, I am not. I'm even trying to pass a law to ensure that we have a framework for making reparations to those who have been wronged in the past and those who will be wronged in the future. Lastly, I want to say, had we stopped at BBI 1 and implemented, we'd have made progress. But as Connor says here, the problem is it has made Kenya more divisive, these second BBI rallies. And I have not said it is impossible to go to a referendum. What I have said, if you're planning a referendum, please, during the budget hearings, which are already almost over, I want to see the budget for the referendum in the IEBC budget. I want us to begin to collect signatures. Let's talk. I'm hoping that after Nakuru, we'll have Nairobi, then we finish the BBI rallies, then let us go to the referendum. We are not afraid of a referendum. Yeah. In fact, let's go to it. All I'm saying is, as you're planning the referendum, don't talk about it. I want to see actions being done to ensure that we are planning for the referendum, because it can't happen overnight. Like we said, there are certain timelines that are legal, that you can't jump over. They have so that we can get over this quickly.
Okay, Kioko.
I think one, there's no disagreement on whether the referendum will happen or not. Even when you listen to Mheshimiwa here talk, it's about timelines. It's procedural. Let it be procedurally.
It's a matter of when.
It's a matter of when. It's a matter of, I mean. So let's remove that. So that, because somehow...
So let me help them prepare for the referendum.
Then ask for your help about at that particular time if the SG feels sufficiently...
It's not my referendum.
It is a referendum of the people of Kenya. But my point is, what has happened in the BBI, if you look at BBI 1, and there were fears. Then when it was released, everybody came together. I think there is a desire to create a division so that it makes sense. There must be those who support it and those who don't support it. That division somehow will run over until 2022. We must see the political game of the BBI for what it is. If all of us are in agreement, because everywhere you've gone, people have not disagreed on the question of creation of the Prime Minister thing and the two deputies. Nobody has refused that. When you look at what was written in BBI 1, nobody has come out to say, no, this fundamentally departures from my belief as a person.
We even accepted it.
Now, when you look at what is going on, there is a need to have those for and those against. Machungwa versus Ndizi. Yeah? You know that argument. Now, and the problem is not with the Mwananchi. And that's something that people must understand. It is a crisis within the political leadership. These MPs are the ones who are conflicting, and especially the MPs within the Jubilee Party. The central problem, leadership problem of Central Kenya has been placed now at the national table for everybody to discuss. In Rift Valley, there's clear leadership. We know there's Deputy Ruto. We know somebody was given a rungu the other week. We know these things happen. But Central Province, the vacuum that is somehow going to happen the moment Uhuru exists, and nobody wants to deal with that. Nobody wants to come forth and say, this is the elephant in the room. That is why when you look at the rallies that have been done, they have all gone to the predominantly NASA regions. Western, Kisii, Mombasa, Ukambani. The areas that Jubilee won, and it is where there is a problem. In Meru, there was friction. They cannot move to Nakuru because the Kinabos are waiting for them. They cannot go to Eldoret.
They were supposed to come to Wasingishu on February 14th.
They can't. Now, when you look at it, when you look at this from the political lens, the Mwananchi wants to hear them out. They want to hear Edwin standing on the dais and articulating his position for or against. They want to hear boss. Now, the Mwananchi is okay. You say what you want to say and then leave us in peace.
Okay,
don't
so
come
Mike,
here and divide us.
Can I just jump in quickly? Number one, he has very rightly stated that these rallies have largely gone on peacefully in all these other regions. It is in fact when it was proposed to head to Eldoret, it's the first time we were hearing threats of violence, that if this rally comes here, oh, this will happen, this will not happen. And you see, this is why we conclude that there are certain truths that people are afraid of, coming out or bringing out during these particular rallies. It is very refreshing when I hear Madam Sholei confess that she opposed the BBI report before she read it. Those are the sort of characters we're dealing with. When the handshake happened, they came up and said that it is about getting ODM into power through the back door. As we speak right now, there is no single person from ODM who has gotten into cabinet or the so-called Jubilee government through the handshake. They opposed the report before they read it. Now, they are the same ones. Even after admitting that they have been wrong about the intentions of the president and Honorable Raila Odinga, they are now also telling us what this BBI rally is about.
But the Secretary General
finish.
no, I want to, no, I'll lose that
It
thought.
is not fair.
He said it was edited.
It is
His
not
own
fair.
statement.
It is not fair. It is not fair for us to listen to you. Then when we get opportunity
just allow him to finish.
I have never said anywhere that the BBI report was edited. In fact,
you were quoted by the press.
Finish your train of thought.
Unfortunately, some of you are very gullible. You are very easily taken away by things you see on social media, this so-called fake news. The things I say as Secretary General, I say them in public in places like this. I have read that report, and in fact, some of the issues, you can clearly tell people who have read the report and those who haven't. The issue of why reports are not implemented is actually dealt with in the BBI report. There is a mechanism that has been provided for timelines for which the president has to bring these reports to Bunge, so that they don't suffer the same fate that other reports have suffered. Now, it is interesting when I hear people from Jubilee saying, oh, the TJRC, and it was most insulting when I heard it from Duale, who's the leader of government business in the House, who had opportunity during this reign of theirs, the reign of terror, when they were saying they have the so-called tyranny of numbers in the House. They never used that tyranny for any good. In fact, all they used to do is to pass laws to subvert the gains that we have made as a people. It took court then going to court to overturn some of this legislation that was passed by force by Speaker Muturi. You saw all those scenes in the House. If we had applied that force from Jubilee to implement the TJRC report, we would be very far. But they are the hypocrites of today, that they have opportunity to do something about the situation that we find ourselves in, but all they do is see the devil in Raila Odinga. Everything they sleep and dream, Raila Odinga.
All right. Let me come to you, Sam. We need to talk solutions. What's the way forward for Kenya?
I think, first of all, the threat of other leaders threatening others not to participate in their processes should stop, because this is supposed to be a platform for all of us to discuss. So I expect going forward that no leader or no group will be threatened or intimidated in any form or other. Secondly, it's also good to know that countries are not destroyed by big things. It is small things that destroy country, and it's just small steps that people miss. This particular process has some relationship with what happened in 2005, where we had a similar national discourse, culminating into a referendum, and then post-election violence. We are almost building the same momentum for 2022. And what I would like to say is, please, as you do it, bear that in mind, and always embrace tolerance. There is no problem with political leaders or formations disagree. But expressing that disagreement should be in a dignified way, should be in a constructive way, and it doesn't have to be abusive or insulting. That you can still have your opinion, whatever it is, and differ with the other one, but do it respectively.
Okay.
And then lastly, we cannot escape from the fact that this country is diverse. And what happens at the political scene has so much influence on what happens on the ground. So as you discuss as political leaders about whether a referendum or not, whether it will be Nakuru or Eldoret or whatever, just remember that what you say and do impacts the local person on the ground and has implications for peace and stability. Right. And as I said earlier, all of us must be keen and interested in ensuring that this country is peaceful, in ensuring that communities are accommodative, political leaders are tolerant, and most importantly, the 2022 election become the watershed election which is peaceful.
All right. Kioko, let me come to you. Of course, Mwananchi, like we said, right now, their biggest problem is just food on the table. And politicians will disagree and have discourse. At some point, they may agree, but we are left still in the same position, particularly economically speaking. What do you see as the way forward, particularly for Mwananchi? What advice do you have for Mwananchi?
I think we must first believe that Mwananchi exercises his sovereign will in the vote. And I go back to that question of the vote and securing the vote, that one vote is one vote, not 1 is 10. Because when I go to vote and I choose Sam Kona to be the president, and then I discover Edwin Sifuna has an ulterior plan somewhere that wants to make his candidate the president. And while his candidate got 3 votes, it is declared he got 10. Now, when you interfere with the sanctity of the vote, you create despondence to our people. And then they start looking for alternative ways to address that perceived injustice. We can go around deliberating these issues. We can have this discourse as a displayed here of who gets what, when, and how. That's the role of why we elected MPs. We can have some corner in the commission talking about the need for integrity and cohesion within this country. But the ultimate cause of our problem goes back to IBC. And I believe that is the opportunity that ODM and NASA have failed to push to the forefront and tell, let us resolve this thing. Once we resolve this thing, it means whoever votes, whether in Kajiado, whether in Narok, whether in Vanga, whether in where, his vote matters, and his candidate rightly wins or rightly loses. That will reduce tremendously the challenge that we face. In terms of going forward, I think the Rift Valley Brigade, the Jubilee Brigade against BBI, have failed to occupy the space. If Raila has only gone to 8 provinces, there are another 30 what that have not been visited. Go to Makueni, go to Kwale, go to Senkishu, organize your meeting and present your views forth. So that people, let the argument be, is not about coming to my meeting, because it is obvious this is a Raila meeting. And if you're going to come to Raila and Haji meeting, respect it for what it is worth. Organize yours and populate you. Let people hear that which you want to say. Is that possible? I leave it to them. They know the shenanigans.
Okay, both coming to you, the rallies, of course, are going to carry on.
Yes, the rallies
are going to continue. As much as some section of Jubilee may feel that they are not right and not going in the same direction, they will continue nonetheless. What do you see as a possible way forward? Is it maybe what Kioko is suggesting, that organize parallel rallies that target different places?
Collaborative rallies, not parallel. Collaborative. Parallel will show you are opposing. Collaborative.
Collaborative.
Those that have not areas have not been visited, let them take their message there.
We met as 200 MPs, like-minded MPs, both from Jubilee and many other different parties in Naivasha, and we issued a statement where we said BBI as given in Bomas, we accept and we are not arguing about it, and we are happy to support the implementation. In fact, we said whichever manner the president wants to implement it, we were ready to implement it. Then they went on to the second BBI rallies. And those second BBI rallies is to achieve what they did not achieve in the BBI 1 report. That is why now all we are discussing is about positions. So my fear that I had with the first BBI report has now come to fore on the second BBI rallies. They are talking about having executive prime minister, 2 deputy prime ministers, and you can see that there is 5 to 9 positions being created ostensibly to include inclusivity, to include communities. But Kenya has 42 communities, and 2 if I add those of Asian origin and those Kenyans of British origin, that will be 44. So when you think about it, 9 positions is not about inclusivity. I believe inclusivity is about the entire government, so that the head of the Kenya Defense Forces, the person who is head of the police, they all come from different communities, the president, the deputy president, the different ministers. If we do that, we have more than enough positions in the existing government structure to ensure that there is some inclusivity if it is about positions. So to tell us it's about creating only a top tier, it's just for certain individuals. And that is our biggest fear. And my saddest moment is that the BBI rallies, phase 2, has divided Kenya more than ever.
Okay.
If the handshake had been intended to unite Kenya, it has not. And like we have said, because we have an Agenda 4 by President Uhuru Kenyatta, we have forgotten about Agenda 4, and we are now focusing on BBI. And we only have 2 years before the time ends. I feel sad for President Uhuru Kenyatta, because the BBI that he told us that he wanted out there is not what we are seeing as happening. In fact, there is nothing that benefits him or his legacy that is going on in the current BBI rallies. It does not benefit him at all. It is not what he had told us. So his intention that he articulated very well during the handshake has not is not what has happened. And I agree with NCIC that they can see that we are going on a very dangerous, slippery path. So, and that is why I'm praying that we finish with, and that's why they said they won't come to Wasingishu, they won't go to Nandi, they won't go to Pokot, they won't go to Turkana, but we are happy if we consolidate all those regions and have it in Nakuru. When we finish with Nakuru, let's hope they come to Nairobi. Then we finish with Nairobi region, and God help us, let's go back to Agenda 4. So that we can build this country and at least have a legacy.
First of all, for me as a way forward, if we are all honest, you know, honesty is the biggest deficient in this country. For instance, the issue of the Prime Minister is not being introduced in the BBI too. If you read the report that was released at Bomas, and I want to encourage people to read, it is not painful, just read. The position of Prime Minister is proposed in that document. We agreed at Bomas that we were going to conduct a validation. That agreement was announced by President Uhuru Kenyatta himself, and he said we were going to take this document to the people. What is a validation? You read the report, you say, this one largely reflects my thinking. I can see that some of the views that I gave have been reflected. As a party, ODM, we read the document, which is the first thing you do. You don't just start making noise before you read the document. We read the document, and in December we told you we can see a lot of things that reflect our thinking. My brother here has said that ODM has forgotten about the IEBC. In the report itself, it is proposed to disband the current IEBC, a position that was advanced by ODM. We are happy. In the report, it has been proposed to go back to the IPPG model, a position that was advanced by ODM and accepted by Kenyans. We are happy. What do you want us to do? You want us to jump up and down? We are talking about the things that we feel can be bettered. We have taken, for instance, a proposal in the BBI report that should give young entrepreneurs a 7-year tax break. We said not all young people are entrepreneurs. Why don't we extend the same benefit to those in employment, to those in the arts, to those in the sports? That's what a validation is, Mike. True. So whenever, you know, you have all these video clips of all the places that these Tanga members of parliament have spoken at BBI rallies. What validation was conducted by Murkomen in Mombasa of the report? What validation? What is this? And I heard the deputy president in one of the interviews saying he will have opportunity to give his views. I have waited and waited to hear from these Tanga people saying, we have seen this proposal, we think it would work better if it was like this. These are the ones we like, the way that we have done it in ODM. We are conducting a validation of the report, so that it is an opportunity for people to input and say, this one we think can work, this one we think cannot work. We said, for instance, the proposal in the report to do away with all the returning officers once they conduct one election, we said that we think, in our view, that would be counterproductive. That is a validation. Okay. These other things you are hearing, this is just noise. Okay. I want the NCIC to be honest. The NCIC has given reports to Parliament over the years about this question of inclusivity. They give a chart or a diagram of how many tribes are occupying spaces in the public service. All of those reports are with Bunge. Nothing has ever been done. Instead, he's running after Olekina because he has spoken the truth of his people.
All right, we're really out of time and we need to conclude. I'll need your closing remarks. I'll start with you, Edwin. Do you feel that the rallies are the best way for Kenya? As much as it's a validation, why not give the report? Are there other avenues that you can explore, like town hall meetings?
I can't sit here and say that they are the best, but it is one of the forums. We as ODM have availed ourselves of all the forums that are available.
Despite the fact that evidently it's dividing the country.
What it's not dividing the country. But there is a perception that is being pushed that it is divisive because people have a problem with Raila Odinga coming to those rallies. I can tell you for a fact, if you had the member of parliament for Soy, their problem is not with the BBI. Their problem is they feel that Raila is using this platform to shine. It is the same thing that has been expressed by Madam Sholei. I have no doubt if, for instance, the reason why Eldoret will not happen is because Raila is there. We believe that because we care so much about the issues of the people of the Rift Valley, the farmers in North Rift, up to all the way down to Magadi on the issue of land ownership in Magadi, we are willing and ready to remove Raila from the rally in Eldoret so that the people of North Rift can actually have opportunity to air the issues, because this process is not about Raila. Okay. And their hatred has so blinded them that they will not allow Raila to present any good proposal, including the coronavirus cure.
Sam, your closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you. I think the rallies will continue because we have to be consistent in terms of giving every part of Kenya an opportunity to do it, because others have been given it. And then secondly, it will be cowardly to stop it because of a threat of violence or intimidation. I think what the political leaders need to do is just to be tolerant. And those who have given the chance now in Rift Valley, I will even urge them to be the ones who will embrace that tolerance as a demonstration that we can differ as leaders, but still we do not have to be disrespectful to each other or to hate each other to the extent that we chase them away or insult them. So this is an opportunity for the people who have not held these rallies, those who will hold them in the coming weeks, to demonstrate a different culture, because that is where the problem is. And of course, bearing in mind that we still have a country to protect. And this is just one event in the life cycle of our country, and it has an opportunity to transform the country in significant ways we can pull together. Yeah.
Right, Kioko, your closing remarks.
I think the validation needs to go on beyond the regional level. This idea of saying Mombasa represents Coast or Nakuru represents Rift Valley, for me, it's a fallacy. You are shortchanging somebody. No, you are shortchanging somebody. Because if it is about hearing everybody else, let them be heard wherever they are and wherever they feel comfortable. Do not bring us in the centers of your convenience, SG. Say, I like Mombasa, let's go to Mombasa. Go to Vanga. Go to the heartland of Pokot and hear what those people have to say about these things that you're saying. I think that needs to happen. When you do it at this regional level, I can tell you where I come from in Kaiti, few people went to Kitui. Less than 20. Does that represent the view of the people of Kaiti? No. Now, we need to take it further. In terms of the different formations, let them have their day. It does not hurt if you let Gladys have a day in Uasin Gishu and scream from the top of her voice about the things she wants seen in the BBI.
By all means.
After finishing that, she will relax. Everybody will relax. The more you refuse her to air her opinion, the more she acquires a martyrdom syndrome. The more she feels persecuted, the more she becomes a hero to her people. The real issues get blown away. Finally, the greatest challenge we face is that ODM has remained, or NASA has remained NASA. While we believed, and some of us voted for Raila, that this is an opportunity for him to reach out to people who he did not vote for. Certain expressions that SG talk about here negate that, because people who are seated somewhere and they want to see, really, is Baba reaching out to me? Baba reaching out. Baba is happy where he is. What Wamalwa said one day, for those who love Raila, they love him to death. And those who fear Raila, they fear him to death. Does this BBI, has it helped Raila's cause? I don't think so. It has just activated and rejuvenated his base. For Madam Boss and your team, I wish you luck.
All right, Boss, you get the last word.
We don't need luck. Our victory is certain. Our victory is certain. And I don't feel persecuted. I've never played victim in my life. So that doesn't work for me. But what I'm hoping is that I know that they've now said they'll have the combined rallies. Uasin Gishu was scheduled for the 14th of February. It didn't happen, and we've accepted that. But what we've done is told our people, put your views together so that we can be able to present your memorandum at Nakuru. The Nandi County is doing the same thing. Kericho County is doing the same thing. Bomet is doing the same thing. Lodwar is doing the same thing. Turkana is doing the same thing. West Pokot is doing the same thing. So that's going on. The views will be brought from the various regions or the various counties. Yeah, because I think the organizers of BBI rallies have now realized it's not practically possible for them to go to every county, especially if they are thinking they can have a referendum in June. So it's not possible. So that's why I know it's going to shut down within the next 1 month. I don't see them carrying on because it's impossible to sustain, considering everything that is before us. But what is important is we cannot be a country that is politicking from January to January. And if you look at the BBI report, paragraph 1, says that it was the most consultative process in the history of Kenya. But we have gone back to the people again to consult them again. So that's well and fine enough. The issues that have been raised in that BBI report are the same ones I'm hearing in the second rallies. When it says that there's unemployment in Kenya, we can't argue about that. When they say there's chronic insecurity, in fact, those are the words they use. When they say that Kenyans don't have faith in their political and religious leaders, that shows again, those are their words. When they are saying that political and economic systems are near collapse and it is a catastrophe in the making. I am quoting the BBI report. That's what it is saying. So if those are the things that are there, and I have called the BBI report the Book of Lamentations, I want us to move from lamenting to implementation.
All right.
And to develop an implementation matrix on what is there is a very simple process.
All right, thank you very much. We'll have to wind up right there. That's the state of the nation. Thank you very much, Madam Gladys Bose, woman rep from Wasingishu, Edwin Sifuna, SecGen for ODM Party, Joseph Kioko, political consultant, and Sam Kona, who's a commissioner at the NCIC. Thank you for joining us this morning on the state of the nation. For now, we're going to take a short break right here on Morning Express, but do stay with us. We have Black and White coming.